Hi, Melissa Bill, and welcome to the Business Roundup, where we catch up with the movers and shakers in the business world. Today, joining me is Michelle Avola-Brown. She's Executive Director at Naples Pathways Coalition. Thank you for joining me today.
Thanks so much for having me, Melissa.
So I know we're going to talk a little bit about the Naples Pathways Coalition, their projects, and some of the initiatives they have going on. But I'd like to have guests kind of share their background a little bit and how you kind of got started in the project and kind of with the group. Can you share a little bit about like how you got started?
Sure. So it was about 2006, I believe. Um, Naples Pathways Coalition was had just incorporated in 2005 and realized that they needed some administrative support. And at the time, my kids were both in diapers, and I was looking to just kind of do something from home, not a whole lot of hours, but I've always been active, and the fact that Naples Pathways supports and provides and tries to improve safety for people who bike, walk, and run, that was very important to me. I had been hit by a car a number of years ago while I was biking, and the person who hit me wasn't the one at fault. I had someone behind me bumping my back tire, blaring their horn at me. I was in the left turn lane and just had two more lanes to get across. By the time I felt like I had safe passage, my foot slipped off the wheel, or off the pedal rather, and almost hit the dirt, but my recovery was just too slow. So I was hit by an oncoming car. Fortunately, I'm here to recount the story. Too many people are not. Florida has the worst statistics for bicyclist injury and fatalities, as well as those for pedestrians. So the mission really hit home for me. So I initially just was helping with the database, attending meetings, and then it grew to going to city council meetings and working with city staff. We had been pushing for the city of Naples to do a study on how people were biking and walking in the city, because there really wasn't a plan for it. There'd be a couple blocks where there was sidewalks and then no more sidewalks. And same thing with bike lanes. Then I started working with law enforcement, trying to help them better understand the laws that were in place. There's often what happens is that if someone is hit and they're not in a vehicle, some assume that it was the person who was walking or biking that was at fault. Sometimes there is fault, but you can't just assume. And then we just grew from there, and my responsibilities grew. And before I knew it, I was the executive director, and I just love what we're doing. Our two keystone projects are developing the Paradise Coast Trail, which is going to result in 100 plus miles of paved separated trail in Collier County, going from Naples up to Bonita Springs, down to out to Ave Maria, Immokalee, Marco Island, Collier Seminole State Park, Everglades City. It's going to just really span the entire county, and then go on up the coast and become part of the Florida Gulf Coast Trail, and then go through the center of the state and become part of the Heartland Trail. I'm originally from the Chicago suburbs, and we had miles and miles and multiple trails that I would bike, I would rollerblade, I'd walk with friends. And I was just floored when I moved to Southwest Florida and realized, wow, the Sunshine State, we don't have trails down here. So in the time with Naples Pathways, we have been advocating for more bike lanes, more sidewalks, a connection, so that people can actually have a transportation network and fill all those gaps with, and stopping the, a mile of bike lane and then it disappears. But we really pivoted in 2018 because there were uh, just so many family members reaching out to me because their loved one had been hit, injured, or killed while they were biking, while they were walking or running. And we saw that just on-road bike lanes and sidewalks were not sufficient. So we really started pushing then for multi-use pathways. And then that's where the vision for the Paradise Coast Trail started. And the big reason that the vulnerable road users are dying is primarily because of distracted driving. So that is our other keystone project, Hands Free Florida. We are working to get everybody to put down their phone while they're driving and just focus on the road. There's 34 other states that have that requirement on every road. In Florida, hands-free is only required in school zones and construction zones. It's a good start, but that's not where all of these crashes are happening.
I know, I think we talked to you before, and you gave me some statistics on that. It was something pretty crazy. I think what does it rank as far as, like, in compared to, like, speeding and that type of thing as far as accidents?
There are, on average, 9 fatalities every single day on Florida roads and 42 serious injuries. And these aren't just, scrapes or having to make a trip to the ER to get checked out. These are traumatic brain injuries. These are multiple broken bones, serious injuries. And two-thirds of those, according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration in Florida, two-thirds of those are caused by distracted driving. So that's 6 out of the 9 fatalities and 28 out of the 42 serious injuries. So it's a huge problem. And yes, there often are other circumstances as well. So they're staring at their phones, they're speeding, they're going through red lights, what have you. But distracted driving, that is the biggest threat on our roads to everyone who uses the roads, but especially for people who don't have the protection of 8,000 pounds of steel around them. If they're walking on a sidewalk and someone jumps the curve because they're too busy staring at their phone or Snapchatting, that person's not going to get home to their family. Same thing with someone riding in the bike lane, commuting to get to work. Well, hopefully they're wearing a helmet, but it's not enough protection for 8,000 pounds of steel barreling at you with a driver that is preoccupied.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know in places that don't have, like you're saying, you have kids too, even up to high school. I think I was just seeing something. There was a somebody locally, or it was a high schooler that was involved in something like similar. If you don't, you don't have these continuations on the sidewalks and they don't have any place to go, you have to go into the roads a lot of times, and it's like that's a big problem in Lee County as well.
With the recent ordinance on e-bicycles, that adds a whole other layer of confusion to the mix. Um, you don't want to have someone on an e-bike riding 30, 40 miles an hour down a sidewalk. Certainly, that makes no sense. But pushing them out onto the roadways when the majority of these folks riding the e-bikes at that kind of speed, they're commuting long distances to get to and from um, a manual labor heavy workload kind of job where people are just they're exhausted by the end of their day. So having an e-bike, so they're not having to pedal 10, 15, 20 miles to get back to where they live, you can see why they're necessary. But a lot of these folks, they've never driven a car in the United States, so they're really not understanding our traffic patterns. They're really not understanding all of the things they need to be watching for. Some of these folks are riding the wrong way in a bike lane because they think that it's safer to ride facing traffic. You would kind of think if you can see what's coming at you, it might be better, but that is not the case at all. So we have really been pushing for education to really work with area businesses who have commuter cyclists working for them so that they understand the rules of the road. If they're going to be driving these e-bikes at these speeds, well, they're going to have to get off the sidewalk. It's safer for them to just slow down. But, you know, biking on sidewalks, that is also a safety concern because drivers entering, say, a parking lot or driveway, if they look on the sidewalk, they're expecting somebody moving slowly, somebody walking. They're not expecting an e-bike zipping along at 30 miles an hour, or even, bicycle riders at slower speeds. People just have the habit, if they are even paying attention to who's on the sidewalk, they're looking for somebody who's walking, and they're not looking as far down on both sides to see if it's safe for them to pull into a driveway, a parking lot, or leave and not impact anyone. And then again, e-bikes, they're so much heavier than regular bicycles. So then if they've been modified and they're going 30, 40 miles an hour, they don't just stop on a dime. They take some time to come to a complete stop. And so a lot of these e-bike riders don't really understand that. So we've had kind of a recipe for disaster as of late because there's been just a huge explosion of e-bike users, and there's kind of an unclassified subset that we refer to as e-motos. The three different classes of e-bikes, the top rated manufacturer's speed is 28 miles per hour. Again, too fast for a sidewalk. But with an app on their phones, they can override the manufacturer setting, and that's how they're going 30, 40 plus miles per hour. I was doing a news interview a couple weeks ago, and they clocked an e-bike rider going at 58 miles per hour
What? Oh,
and no helmet. And that would be just terrifying for me. So we're trying to do all that we can to educate, to get law enforcement to educate before they just start handing out the tickets. But where we see this other class of these e-motos, I at least feel that these folks should have a driver's license so that there's some education. There needs to be registration so that there's some accountability. Mopeds, for example, they are rated to go 30 miles an hour or higher. They are required to have, the riders have to be licensed, and they do have to have a registration for the vehicle. It's kind of an interesting thing that a lot of the e-bike manufacturers have decided to settle at 28 miles per hour as their top rated speed so that they don't have to have that requirement for the registration and the licensing. But it's a loophole that's really dangerous. So we are just trying to help everybody understand, well, these people do have to get to work. We don't want them pedaling 20 miles just to get to work and then serve us in restaurants and hotels and dry cleaners and everywhere else, and then have to pedal their bikes 20 miles back home. That's exhausting. That people shouldn't have to do that to make a living wage. But this new classification, or actually this unclassification of e-bikes that are being modified, so they're basically turning into motorcycles without any education, without proper licensing. It's dangerous for them, and it's dangerous for drivers as well.
right. It's like uncharted territory that we're kind of like heading in to try to figure out how to navigate.
Right, right. The ordinance that Collier County passed has set a speed limit of 15 miles per hour if they're going to be on a sidewalk. But what's interesting, a lot of the e-bikes don't have speedometers, so they don't even know how fast they're going. Plus, if you've driven on our roads, a lot of the drivers are going easily 15 miles per hour over a posted speed limit. there's not enough law enforcement to deal with vehicle drivers who are speeding. We just don't have the law enforcement to really tackle the speeding on the sidewalks as well. So it really needs to be a whole community effort to educate, to get people to understand how they can safely share the roadways that we do have.
And if like people wanted more information about Naples Pathway Coalition and just some of the other things that you're involved in, what would be the best way to find it?
NaplesPathways.org. That's how you find us online, and we're also on our socials, so you can find us on Facebook and Instagram too. Paradise Coast Trail and Hands Free Florida also have their own pages.
And now, can people get involved, like the public? Do you ever have need for just public involvement in things?
Oh, absolutely. Whenever things come up before city council, county commissioners that impact the safety, the infrastructure for people who walk, bike, and run, I am there to speak on behalf of the active community, but it's even better when community members can also come out and voice support and the need for the needs of all road users to be considered. Um, we have a program where we provide bike lights, helmets, reflective vests, and locks when we have the funding for them to commuter cyclists. And when we provide the safety gear, we fit them with their helmets because a helmet that doesn't fit correctly really doesn't do a whole lot for you. But we also get to do that education. So we also need volunteers to help with the helmet fitting, to help with installing bike lights, that sort of thing. So that's a great way to get involved. Plus, we have two fundraiser walk and ride events every year. And there's lots of ways to have fun and help out at those. So the one coming up first is the 21st annual Iron Joe Turkey Ride and Walk on Sunday, November 30th. That's the Sunday after Thanksgiving. That's going to be at Eagle Lakes Community Park by Lely. Beautiful park. So the walk and the 5 mile bike ride are all just within the park through their trails there. And then we'll also have distances for the bike rides of 10 miles, 20 miles, 40, and 62. We have rest stops along the way. We feed everybody breakfast and great coffee before they head out in the morning. And then when everybody comes back, we have a great after party with food, with beer and soft drinks, with music, photo booth, raffles, all sorts of fun stuff. So that one's November 30th. And then our next one will be the bike brunch and walk on March 1st of 2026. And that'll be at Cambier Park. Very similar. We tend to have a lot more folks come to that one because it's in the heart of season. But they're always a great time, good way to meet other people who are active, and you've exercised all that time. So then we reward you with really good food too.
You get both. You get the good food, and then you can work it off, or work it off first, and then get the good food.
Yep, yep.
Okay, wonderful. Well, I'm so glad that you joined us today. And I hope that we can definitely come and maybe, film some of the upcoming events, and also just, do updates when you have them, definitely share as far as different events and things that are coming up.
Well, that would be fantastic. And if I can also just throw it out there, we do have a second website. It's handsfreeflorida.org. We're asking people to go online, fill out a short petition. We just need basic information. We're working on getting 10,000 signatures. We really feel that that is going to grab the attention of legislators. We don't lobby, we advocate for better laws to protect all road users. And in 2024, during that legislative session, I went and testified at multiple committee meetings, and the bill passed unanimously in the House, but it was blocked in the Senate. For the 2025 session, this past spring, it went through the Senate with no problem, and then it was blocked in the House. This coming session, the 2026 session, we haven't been able to get a bill sponsor because that same leadership is in place who have said they're not going to support the legislation. So now, until we can push again for the 2027 session, we're asking people to sign the petition. We're going to be doing more messaging, expanding our reach to help with education, increase awareness of just how prevalent and how dangerous it is to interact with phones while they're driving. And something that I guess it shouldn't surprise me, but the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration has also said it's more dangerous to interact with a phone while driving than it is to drink and drive. I
Wow,
mean, let that
that's
sink in. That's like, it doesn't make sense, but if you kind of think of it, maybe people who've had a couple of drinks, maybe they're going to try to drive more carefully, but people are just in the habit of having their phones and multitasking and have always checking their notifications, always scrolling social media and whatnot, that they just don't realize how dangerous it is. A text typically takes what, like 5 seconds to send. Well, at 55 miles an hour, that is having you drive the length of a football field with your eyes completely closed. Who would do that? No one would do that,
yeah,
just
knowingly.
no one's gonna say, "Yeah, I'm gonna just drive the next half mile with my eyes closed." No. But when we're staring down at our phones instead of looking at the road, that's exactly what is happening. So if you can help us spread the word to get people to put down their phones, we would really appreciate it. And as season is now upon us, there's going to be that many more people on the road, so we all need to be keeping our heads on a swivel, looking for all of the people coming down from a lot more bicycle friendly places who think they can ride like they do back home and don't understand the traffic that we have here, the number of distracted drivers we have, the red light runners, often a byproduct of distracted driving. So just keep in mind, everybody on the road, whether they're in a car, whether they're walking, they're biking, somebody loves them. Somebody wants them to get home safely at the end of the day. So if we just are a little more courteous, a little more watchful, a little bit more careful, let's all just make sure that we do all get home safely.
Exactly, to their families and everybody. Yeah, I take that little extra time to just, make sure that you're paying attention to where you're going.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much again for joining us today.
All right, Melissa, thank you. Take care and God bless.
Thank you for joining the Business Roundup, where we always try to bring you interviews with some of the leading people in business, whether it be technology, finance, or energy. I hope you tune in. I hope you subscribe and listen, and we'll give you updates for new interviews that are coming up. Until next time, I'm Melissa Bill.